Dixie here. Today I want to talk to you about sun hoodies versus PFG button-up shirts for hiking and backpacking. I've worn PFG button-up shirts for most of my thru hikes, and that stands for Performance Fishing Gear. It doesn't have to be an actual like Columbia PFG shirt, although that is what I typically wear, but I'm referring to just the button-up fishing ventilated style shirts that people often wear backpacking and hiking. I started my thru hike of the Arizona Trail with a PFG button-up shirt, probably because that's just kind of my go-to and what I've hiked in the desert previously on the Pacific Crest Trail and on the Continental Divide Trail, and aren't we creatures of habit? I use the Columbia Bahama button-up. It's 100% nylon, and it's a thicker material and feels just more durable. They do make thinner Columbia shirts made from polyester, the Tammy Amy for example, but I'm just not as big of a fan of the way that one fits. Since I started wearing one back in 2017 for my thru hike of the Pacific Crest Trail, something else has emerged as a very popular option, and that is the sun hoodie. I resisted for a while, but I finally decided I needed to see what all the fuss was about, so I've given a couple of them a go. The first one I ever got was just a cheap one from Amazon. I didn't really know what I was looking for. It was made out of 100% polyester, and it had thumb holes, and I mean it had good coverage and everything, but it just felt a little too thick, and so it made me hot, and it just wasn't the most comfortable thing in the world. The second sun hoodie I tried was from the brand Kuyu, and I wore it during my thru hike of the West Highland Way. It's 92% polyester and the rest spandex, which was much thinner and more comfortable. I honestly probably would have worn a PFG shirt on that hike if it wasn't for being 6 months pregnant, so the sun hoodie just had more room and was more comfortable than trying to button something up over my baby bump. The third sun hoodie I tried was made out of merino wool. I also wore it in Scotland, but just up on the Ben Nevis summit hike that we did, and honestly it acted more like a base layer than a sun hoodie because I had other layers over it the whole time because it was freezing cold. And then the fourth sun hoodie I've tried was during my thru hike of the Arizona Trail, just in the Grand Canyon and the remaining miles after that. So for approximately 100 miles or so. That one was the Mountain Hardwear Crater Lake sun hoodie. It's made from 88% polyester and the rest elastane, and it was definitely the thinnest and most comfortable sun hoodie I've worn yet. I certainly think that there are applications in which one or the other may work better, so let's just dig into it and different factors that should be considered about shirts in general. First, comfort. I think most folks who have worn both would agree that sun hoodies are more comfortable. They're just flowy and oftentimes made out of a softer material, and some ladies have mentioned, you know, having a larger chest, it's nicer and more comfortable in a sun hoodie than something that buttons. Also, I've noticed that a sun hoodie tends to get less bunched up and doesn't ride up as much as my PFG shirts, like getting caught in the back of my pack and in my hip belt and things like that. For sun protection, hands down, the sun hoodie is going to offer you better coverage, hence the name sun hoodie. You're going to have your scalp, your ears, your neck, the sides of your face partially, even the arms and hands, because a lot of the sun hoodies have holes, will be more protected, whereas in a PFG, I feel like every time I wash it and dry it, the sleeves get shorter, so I would have to have sun gloves to offer the same protection as a sun hoodie, and a wide-brimmed hat to get my ears and the upper part of my neck. And you can flip up the collars on a PFG shirt to offer a little bit of coverage for your neck, but you'd have to rely on that wide-brimmed hat for the top part. Now, with that said, I have seen a lot of folks hiking with a sun hoodie that only had the sun hoodie and no hat, and a lot of them have really bad burns on the tips of their noses. So I wouldn't rely on the sun hoodie alone to offer the protection for your face. I think it still needs to be paired with at least a ball cap. I don't know how well it would really work with a wide-brimmed hat. So regardless, the best practice would be to have some sort of hat for more coverage for your face, and maybe even an umbrella. I like having an umbrella in really exposed areas because I then don't have to have a hat on my head. I don't feel as hot when I can get the breeze coming under the umbrella. But there are some sun hoodies. Rodney had a really extreme one that also have face gaiters to help cover your face too. So that is always an option if you're just against hats. Next, moisture wicking / quick drying. One pro for sun hoodies is there are a lot more fabric options. You can get synthetics like polyester, and if you want something thinner made from merino or other natural fibers like alpaca or bamboo, then you're pretty much gonna have to get a sun hoodie because they just don't have as many options like that for a button up, at least, like I said, that's going to be thin and flowy and comfortable. So if you're really wanting to wick moisture and wet your garment to allow it to help cool you, then you want it to dry quickly, because that's like sweating. You know, you sweat and then that evaporates to help cool your body. So you don't want to just get something wet and it stays soaked. You want something to dry quickly in the heat. And I just feel like the sun hoodie does a lot better job with that. Next, ventilation. On this one, I feel like the PFG button-up type shirt takes the cake because it's got a vent on the back. At least most of the ones I've seen do. Any of the ones I've ever worn have that. You can also unbutton the shirt, you know, all the way or part of the way. And oftentimes the sleeves roll up and they like hold well. Some of them even have a little Velcro attachment or a loop with a button that can help secure your sleeves up. With the sun hoodie, you're just in one kind of solid piece that goes over you, and sure, you could pull your sleeves up, but the PFG is just much more ventilated. Because sun hoodies are designed to give you ultimate protection from the sun, with the hood up, you're not getting any breeze on your neck, on your ears, the top of your head, like you would with the PFG shirt. So in most cases, the PFG shirt is a bit cooler for me in warmer weather. But with that said, there's always an exception. For extreme exposure and very high temperatures, I think the sun hoodie is the better option in those cases because, for example, in the Grand Canyon, when it was going to be well above 100 degrees and I knew that I was going to be near water sources where I could soak myself with water and I wanted ultimate protection from the sun, then the sun hoodie worked really well to soak down and help keep me cool. And finally, durability. From my experience, the button-ups tend to be a bit more rugged and look better longer than the sun hoodies. I doubt that this is a huge deal breaker for most people, but it is something to consider. All in all, this is like any other piece of backpacking equipment. It really boils down to personal preference. For me, going forward, I'll probably stick with a PFG button-up just because I really like them. The durability, the versatility, and really I just feel a little bit claustrophobic with the hood up on my head and not getting that breeze on my neck and stuff. I start to kind of feel like a little overheated. So unless I'm in a situation like the Grand Canyon again with extreme temperatures, like I said, where I'd want to soak myself down and have that extra coverage from the sun, then probably just going to go with the PFG. With that said, just for funsies, I decided to do a poll on the Homemade Wanderlust Facebook page. Hands down, at least the followers of that page prefer sun hoodies over PFG button-up shirts. So that's just another example of how I'm one person with one opinion, and that's why I try to tell y'all what works for me and why. That way you can figure out for yourself what you would prefer. And I should also mention that for those of you who don't want to decide between a sun hoodie or a PFG button-up, they actually have hybrids out there on the market. There is a fella named Jolly who I actually ran into on the AZT. He has Jolly gear where he has these cool patterns, bright colors, and they are basically button-up shirts that are soft and comfortable, but also have a hood so you have the ventilation and coverage from the sun all in one garment. I'm not sponsored. He didn't ask me to share that, but that's just somebody that I know that actually makes those hybrid type shirts. So anyway, that is all I have for you today. But on that note of not being sponsored, before I go, I do want to mention that this channel is now set up for memberships. I have a lot of folks ask me you know, how are you able to do these videos and not be sponsored? Or folks will accuse me of being sponsored, because obviously you must be if you're making videos about gear. But I do not accept sponsorships. I do not get free gear. And the way I'm able to do that is through Patreon and now through YouTube memberships. YouTube had been hounding me for a while to set up memberships on this channel, but I had Patreon, so I was like, why do I also need that? But they finally convinced me to, so it is available. I'll mainly be offering ad-free videos for the members, and I do typically monthly Q&As with patrons. So I'll be offering the same Q&As available for members through YouTube. I also do a monthly bloopers reel, so it'll be really similar to Patreon, except Patreon is actually cheaper at $1 per month for the basic membership. So you can go check that out. Or if you're anti-Patreon and you want to check out the YouTube memberships and have more access to the behind the scenes and stuff like that way, then it is available now. I don't like to harp on that stuff a lot, like, oh, you know, come give me your money. I really appreciate people just watching the channel, learning about backpacking and getting out there and doing it, because I feel like the more people can get out and backpack and enjoy nature, they'll see what truly is important in life, and, you know, we can all stop hating each other about politics and things like that. So I just think in general, it makes the world a better place. So if you would like to help support this channel and keep things sponsor free, I'm not going to sponsors, but you know, that is a way that you can do it, memberships or Patreon, or you can continue to enjoy free content, learn how to backpack, and get out there and make the world a better place. So anyway, thank y'all so much for watching, and we will see y'all next time.